Farewell, Eddsworld, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Giant Robot. Ah, Eddsworld, a land of cola, questionable hygiene, and enough fourth-wall breaks to make Deadpool jealous. It's a place where the absurd becomes the norm, and the norm is anything but ordinary. From the endless supply of cola that fuels our adventures to the quirky characters who inhabit this world, Eddsworld has always been a realm of boundless creativity and unrestrained fun. But alas, all good things must come to an end. It's a bittersweet moment saying goodbye to a world that has given us so much joy and laughter. The sunsets in Eddsworld have always been a symbol of the end of another crazy day, filled with mischief and mayhem. And now, as the final sunset approaches, we can't help but feel a pang of nostalgia. Even for a glorious, handsome, and undeniably brilliant mastermind like myself. Yes, it's true. I, Tord Larson, have decided to bid farewell to this wacky world. But don't let my smug expression fool you. This decision wasn't made lightly. It took a lot of soul-searching, a lot of late-night pondering, and yes, a lot of cola. You see, my departure wasn't just about the giant robot. Well, mostly not. The giant robot was a part of it, sure. But there were other factors at play. It was about finding a new direction, a new purpose. It was about stepping out of the shadow of the giant robot and into the light of new opportunities. It was about the artistic integrity, the desire to create something new, something different, to push the boundaries of what we thought was possible, to explore new artistic horizons and challenge ourselves in ways we never thought we could. Eddsworld was a canvas, and we painted it with the wildest, most vibrant colors we could find. But now, it's time to find a new canvas. The pursuit of bigger and better explosions. Because let's face it, who doesn't love a good explosion? The thrill, the excitement, the sheer spectacle of it all. It's what made Eddsworld so exhilarating. But now it's time to take that pursuit to new heights. To create explosions that are bigger, better, and more mind-blowing than ever before. And of course, the unbearable stench of Tom's music. Seriously, have you ever tried to work with that noise blaring in the background? It's a wonder we got anything done at all. But despite the noise, despite the chaos, we managed to create something truly special. And for that, I will always be grateful. But let's be honest, you're not here for the sentimental drivel. You're here for the real story, the juicy details, the behind-the-scenes drama that led to my departure. You want to know why I, Tord Larson, decided to leave the good ship Eddsworld? Well, buckle up, Buttercups, it's going to be a bumpy ride. You want the juicy gossip, the behind-the-scenes drama, the real reason I, Tord Larson, abandoned the good ship Eddsworld. Was it creative differences? Was it personal conflicts? Or was it something else entirely? The truth is, it was a little bit of everything. Creative differences, personal conflicts, and yes, even a bit of boredom. But more than anything, it was about finding a new path, a new adventure. Buckle up, Buttercups. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Because the story of my departure is filled with twists and turns, highs and lows, and more than a few surprises. It's a roller coaster ride of emotions, and I hope you're ready for it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride, because this is the story of how I, Tord Larson, said farewell to Eddsworld. The Coke habit, a sticky situation. Let's address the elephant in the room, or rather, the cola in the fridge. You see, Ed's obsession with cola wasn't just a casual habit, it was a full-blown addiction that had taken over his life and by extension, mine. Ed's addiction. It was out of control. He would drink cola morning, noon, and night. It was the first thing he reached for when he woke up and the last thing he sipped before going to bed. His apartment was a shrine to cola, with cans stacked high like a sugary fortress. I mean, the guy practically bled brown. His clothes were perpetually stained with cola, and his fingers were always sticky. It was as if he had become one with the beverage. You could almost smell the sugary sweetness emanating from him. I tried to stage an intervention once. I gathered all our friends and we sat him down for a serious talk. We thought we could reason with him, make him see the light. But Ed was stubborn. He refused to listen, insisting that he had everything under control. It ended with me duct taped to a chair and force-fed cola. Ed thought it was hilarious, a big joke, but for me it was a wake-up call. This was more than just a bad habit, it was a serious problem that needed addressing. And don't even get me started on the sticky floors. Every step you took was accompanied by that awful squelching sound. It was like walking on a giant fly trap. No matter how much you cleaned, the stickiness never went away. It was like living in a giant ant farm, only less hygienic. The ants were everywhere, drawn to the sugary residue that coated every surface. They marched in lines, invading every nook and cranny. It was a constant battle to keep them at bay. I swear, one day I'm going to find fossilized bacon in that apartment. Ed's place was a mess with forgotten food items lurking in corners, slowly turning into science experiments. It was a wonder he hadn't attracted more than just ants.
But despite all this, Ed remained oblivious. He continued to live in his cola-filled world, blissfully unaware of the chaos around him. It was a sticky situation indeed.
Tom, my not-so-secret admirer. Ah, Tom, my nemesis, my arch-rival, the bane of my existence, and the owner of my secret admirer fan club. Don't tell him I told you. The guy's ego is inflated enough as it is, between the constant death threats disguised as compliments and the creepy love poems scrawled on pizza boxes. I was starting to fear for my safety. I mean, have you seen his eyes? They're like two black holes staring into your soul. Ed, the king of the overused puns. Don't get me wrong, Ed's a great guy, in small doses. He's the kind of friend who can light up a room with his humor, but sometimes, that light can be a bit too blinding. But living with someone who speaks fluent pun is enough to drive anyone to madness. Imagine waking up to a pun about your bedhead or getting a punny comment about your breakfast cereal. It's relentless. I swear the man could find a way to make a pun out of a funeral. Once, at a somber event, he whispered, "I guess you could say he's now a grave man." I nearly lost it. "Tord, why the long face?" he'd ask, his eyes twinkling with mischief. It didn't matter if you were having the worst day. Ed would find a way to twist it into a pun. And I, being the mature and responsible adult that I am, would resist the urge to launch a spoon at his head, most of the time. But there were moments when I couldn't help but laugh, despite myself, because let's face it, some of his puns were genuinely funny. Like the time he said, "I used to be a baker, but I couldn't make enough dough. It was so bad it was good." Ed had this uncanny ability to come up with puns on the spot. It was like his brain was wired differently. While most of us were thinking of normal responses, he was crafting the next punny masterpiece. He even had a pun book. Yes, you heard that right. A book filled with puns for every occasion. Birthdays, holidays, even random Tuesdays. He was always prepared, and that's why we called him the king of the overused puns. It wasn't just a title, it was a way of life for him. A pun-filled, groan-inducing, laughter-sparking way of life. Despite the eye rolls and the groans, we wouldn't have it any other way. Ed's puns brought us together, made us laugh, and reminded us not to take life too seriously.
So here's to Ed, the king of the overused puns. Long may he reign, and may his puns never cease to amuse and exasperate us in equal measure. And then there's Matt. Oh, sweet, oblivious, narcissistic Matt. Bless his heart, the guy could start a staring contest with his own reflection and win. Don't get me wrong, he means well. It's just difficult to have a serious conversation when the other person is more concerned with their reflection than the impending apocalypse you're describing. Now about that giant robot, it's true, I have a bit of a soft spot for the big guy. He's like a giant metal sun to me. But let's be real, he's also a giant metal money pit. Between the fuel costs, the repairs, and the constant threat of accidentally destroying the city and the world, let's be honest, it was getting to be a bit much, even for an evil genius like myself. Let's be honest, folks, you're not watching Eddsworld for the gripping plot lines or the complex characters. You're here for the same reason I stayed as long as I did. The sheer, unadulterated absurdity of it all. Where else can you find a talking cat, a love-struck zombie, and a giant robot piloted by a trigger-happy Norwegian? It's like someone took all the weirdest parts of my brain, threw them in a blender, and called it entertainment. Section 8. Missing you, don't make me laugh.
So, do I miss Eddsworld? Do I miss the constant chaos, the questionable hygiene, the endless puns? Let's just say I don't miss it enough to stage a dramatic return. Besides, who would fund my evil schemes if I wasn't out there conquering the world?
Section 9. So what's next for the evil genius?
World domination, galactic conquest, starting my own brand of hair gel. The possibilities are endless. Just kidding. Unless...
Section 10. Confessions of a not-so-reformed villain.
Okay. Maybe I miss them a little, just a smidge. But don't tell them that. It would ruin my image. Besides, I'm sure they're having just as much fun without me, right?
Section 11. See you later, Space Cowboy, maybe.
So there you have it. The untold story of why I, Tord Larson, left Eddsworld. It's been real, it's been weird, it's been Eddsworld. Until next time, keep it real, keep it weird, and try not to destroy the world without me. Though if you do, film it, for science.